Well, hello, everybody. I am back for another session of motivation and conversation. We've been talking about rethinking. We've been talking about the process. So we've talked about positions of rethinking. We've talked about avenues of rethinking. We talked about stepping stones of rethinking. So you could definitely go back on the Bridget Moody Consulting page and you can rewatch those. And those videos, of course, will be in sequential order. So you can definitely go back and watch those and kind of get these nuggets. And what I've been doing is just sharing my process of how I've been reimagining, rethinking, re-strategizing, and taking the opportunity to put in place a redefining of my business, what I've been doing, and how I need to adjust to move forward. Hey, lady, thank you for joining. And so I've been just kind of walking you through my process. This is the reality that we're in as business owners and as individuals. I mean, period, in life. It's the process that we've all been having to go through. So just kind of been walking you through this process. And just like I've been kind of giving it to you a little bit at a time, that's how you kind of have to take it. You want to make sure that your thinking period is balanced, and you want to make sure that it's realistic. So that means taking these different little, steps to get to your end result is what's really going to be helpful for you. So, like I said, we've talked about three other areas. I want to talk about a fourth area today. And when we talk about the rethinking process, and that is the rethinking results, what are the results of going through steps 1, 2, and 3? Right? Going through steps 1, 2, and 3, the avenues, the positions, the stepping stones. When you've gone through those pieces, then what are the results of doing that? So I want to talk about that today. Not going to be long, but I want to give you 3 results of the rethinking process and what it will help you to do, how beneficial it'll be, and how you can use it moving forward, because we have 2 more phases of this whole adjusting to excel process. So the first result is that when you go through these steps and you take this process, it's going to establish a plan for moving forward, because you have the groundwork already done. You've sat down, you've thought about, okay, where was I? What was I doing? Where am I now? What is it that I want to do? How is it that I need to do it? What steps do I need to take? You've gotten yourself in a posture where you can really allow your thoughts to flow freely and realistically and be balanced in your thinking, so that you can determine what's the best move for this season. What do I need to do now? Okay, so what this process does is it will help you to establish a plan for moving forward. So basically, when you're tangibly gathering information, we call that data gathering, data collection. Well, you're gathering your thoughts in this the same process, or from the same perspective. You're gathering your thoughts, you're rethinking, you're reassessing where you are, what's going on, and how you need to adjust to move forward, right? Because this is all about adjustment for advancement, because you want to make the adjustment so that you can advance, stay relevant, and continue to do what it is that you do as a business owner, as an individual, or however it is that is going to impact your life. Number 2, this process will provide the elements you need to re-strategize your business focus. So once you get these elements in place, you sit down, you do your rethinking process. It's more like when you do an initial brain dump, when you're trying to figure out how you're going to put a project together. Well, you sit down and you think about what has to be done. You think about the steps you need to get there. And then you have to put all of that, that's a strategy. Then you have to put that into a plan for execution. Right. So it provides you the elements you need to re-strategize the business focus. This is how I normally teach it and talk about it. Your vision is your what? Your strategy is your how. So your vision, that's what you see that you want to do. You have a big picture. This is what I want to do. This is my end result. Well, the next question is, well, how do I get there? Right. So you have to plan out the stuff that's in the middle, right? So that's the work that has to be done. That's the resources you need, the whole 9 yards. And of course, I'll talk about this more as we talk about the next 2 phases of adjusting to excel. So it provides the elements you need to re-strategize your business focus. So your focus may have been on one thing. Now it may have been on A. Now it's going to be on B. The other thing about that is you may have to reschedule some things in this new rethinking process, this new strategy plan. You may have to do some rescheduling of how you do things. You may have to add some elements to how you're doing what you're doing. You may have to acquire some new skills for what it is that you need to do. You may need to you may need to go back to school. You may need to get a certification. Whatever that is, this plan, these steps are going to help you to determine what is my next move. How do I move forward, right? So, number one, it helps to establish the results for moving forward. Number two, it provides the elements you need to re-strategize your business focus. These are the results of the rethinking process. Okay. And then number three, the rethinking process results in a realignment, or it realigns your path to consistent growth and success. Because oftentimes it's just like, when you're driving, sometimes, you may you may turn too soon, or you may get off of the directions or the path of the directions that you've gotten or received or following to get to a particular destination. Well, then you have to put your strategy in place really quickly to get back on track, to get to your destination, or an alternative route that's going to help you get there within the same time frame. So it realigns your path to consistent growth. And so for so many of us, business owners, corporations, ministries, whatever, churches, whatever your position is, we've had to do some realigning. The realignment has had to take place for the assignment that each of us have. We've had to realign ourselves in a lot of areas so that we can determine what it is that we need to do in this season for this particular time frame, so that we can move forward and be successful in the things that we want to do going forward. So this is all a part of a greater plan, or a larger plan, to have a strategy in place so that you know what direction you want to go in and what is that you have to do. It helps you determine that. It helps you to determine what tasks are going to have to be done beyond this point. It's also going to help you to determine financially what that's going to look like and what you're going to need in order to move forward and advance forward. And so these may be larger steps than you've taken in the past. It may be things that are out of your comfort zone. But one of the things that I share is that it's taught me three things in this season, and that is vulnerability, sustainability, and manageability. Number one, we have to be vulnerable in this season because we're so conditioned to tradition. And so sometimes it's difficult for some of us to really move beyond what we know and do things differently than we've done them in the past, because we're conditioned by tradition. And so we look to do it in the way that we're in fashion, the way we've always done it. And it's just simply not the thing that is going to be comfortable in this season. There are some adjustments that have to be made regardless of who you are and what you do. Technology, this digital age, there's so many things. You have to become savvy to some extent so that you can stay relevant and keep up with what's happening. So you have to be vulnerable. You have to release your pride, and you have to look, I don't know that, I need some help. And so you have to graduate your thinking to that level so that you can get the appropriate assistance you need to help you go to the next level so that you can have consistent growth and success. And then sustainability. You have to be vulnerable so that you can sustain. Because if you don't do that, you'll find yourself slipping, and some of the things that you need to maintain on a daily basis, weekly basis, monthly basis, yearly basis to stay relevant in what it is that you do will start to fade and slip away. So you have to be able to sustain yourself. And so it's important that you're vulnerable for the things that you need in order to do that. And then manageability. For me, is managing my emotions, because you can't, you're going to have certain emotions about certain things. Certain things are going to be out of your comfort zone, not your norm. So you want to make sure that you're managing your emotions and you're staying on top of your feelings, because you have to get past the feelings and you have to deal with what it is that is in front of you. And so you have to confront those things. You have to be realistic about what they are, and you have to be realistic about what it's going to take to get those things done and to get past some of those normalcies that you're used to. And that's just simply how it is in this season. So I hope that, this adjusting to Excel has, for those of you who've been watching, for those of you who've been going back and watching the replay, that you just taking notes of these little nuggets. And like I said, it's simply the process that I've taken to kind of get myself on a different path, to go in a different direction, and beginning to do some things differently with my consulting, with pen to paper. There's some awesome things that are going to be coming this year with that. And so I'm excited about it, but it's also challenging me. It's challenging me to be in a different headspace. It's challenging me to be in a different space technology wise, and it's challenging me to be in a different space in my thinking. And so it's causing some different types of creativity. And so that's another thing that the rethinking process does as well. It helps you, like I said, with number 2, provides you the elements that you need to re-strategize. So that made me adding some skills that you hadn't normally been utilizing in your business, or adding a department or a category that you've not been doing in the past with your business. And so you may be able to capitalize on that in this season, whereas prior to, there was no need to even bring that part in because you were doing well. So everybody's having to re-strategize, readjust, adjust for advancement, make some adjustments so that you can go to the next level. And so one of the things that the enemy will try to do is to get us off track in our thinking. And so that's why the rethinking process is so important. Where you do that at, your posture when you're rethinking, your whole attitude about that process, where you are, being in a place that is conducive for you to think, for your mind to be clear, and get all of those things out so that you can arrange that information, gather all the things that you know you need, have your vision so that you can determine that's your what. And then you want to have in place a plan, which is your strategy. That's your how. So I know what it is that I see that I want to do. How do I get to that point? So I think this initial phase, if you sit down and just take the time, go through the steps, and just, and it may sound elementary, but it's fundamentally important, and it's fundamentally conducive to help you get to the next step. And so as basic as it may, seem, it will be an exercise that will help you to really get your wheels turning and get you thinking about what it is that you want to do. And so for me, that was, were several things. So then I had to prioritize because I began to think about so many different other things that I wanted to do. So in this season, that's important. It's an exercise you want to take, and you want to take it on a regular basis because you want to kind of keep track of what's happening and how you need to make adjustments as you go, right? So tonight, of course, like I said, I wasn't going to be long. I just wanted to give you this next piece of the rethinking process. And next time we will talk about re-strategizing. We'll talk about re-strategizing. And so we'll incorporate some of the things that we've done in this first piece of rethinking. So the results we get from the rethinking process, or the steps for rethinking in this adjusting to Excel series, number 1, it helps to establish a plan for moving forward. And so we all know that we get stuck sometimes, we get derailed, we get off course, and so we have to realign ourselves. Realign yourself for your assignment. Realignment for your assignment. All right. Number 2, it provides the elements you're going to need to re-strategize your business focus. And that doesn't necessarily have to be a business focus, but your life focus. I mean, you may need to make some adjustments and changes relative to your living arrangements, where you are. You may be in an apartment, you want to move to a home, or it may be, your corporate job. You want to make, a change, a shift there. You want to transition from one thing to another. Well, this is a process that can also help you think about what steps you need to take, how you need to prepare yourself to do that, right? So this can apply in more than one area, more than one category, okay? Then number 3, it realigns your path for consistent growth and success. So it keeps you on track. And so what we're guilty of is that when we get in a place and we're comfortable, we just ride that out. We don't ever make adjustments. We don't ever add to it, subtract from it. We just kind of ride that out. We ride that lane out. And so eventually it gets to a point that you have to make some adjustments. And so what I'm saying is that you want to become consistent with making adjustments on a consistent basis. Periodically assess where you are and just take the time to rethink. Sit down, think about what you're doing, how you're doing it, how can I make this better, what improvements can I make, what can I do that will cause this to be more exciting, that will be more impactful, that will be more beneficial to my followers, to my listeners, to my clients, to my customers, however that is applicable for you. And I think you'll find that it will be helpful. And not only that, it keeps us on our toes, right? Because we know we're going to insert talking about our thought process and what we're doing and assessing ourselves. So it's self-evaluation. And then that also turns into self-motivation. And then that gives us self-determination. Okay. So those things are important. You have to do the self-talk. It's important. It's important. Self-evaluation, self-motivation, and self-determination. Those are things you want to do on a consistent basis, right? You want to move yourself in those areas because only you can do it for you. And if you're going to have clients, if you're going to have employees, then you've got to be the point person, to make sure that those things are happening. And if you guys if you do self-evaluation, you keep yourself in check, you're self-motivating, that's your self-talk, and then you establish self-determination. That's when you're driving yourself to a particular goal or an expected end, okay? So those things are super, super important. And then the other thing I shared was the 3 areas that have been very, that have illuminated for me in this season, and that's vulnerability, sustainability, and manageability. And those are all about self. So in essence, what I'm saying is you got to do, you just got to stir self up, and you got to do that whole self evaluation so that you can be impactful in the kingdom and do what it is that you've been called to do. All right. Well, that's all for today. Short segment. I try to keep these a little shorter than I did in the past. People are so busy. So I want you to be able to listen to this in between, leaving the house, going to the store, or whatever it is that you may be doing. In between or while you're doing dishes or whatever, and just listen to the nuggets. And then when you have a moment, you can go back and you can jot down whatever stood out to you. All right. Well, until next time, we'll see you next week, and we'll have some more tips, tools, and techniques on this Adjusting for Advancement, Adjusting to Excel series. And we'll be talking about re-strategizing the next time. So we're going to stir this stuff all up, and I'm going to give you just what I use to help myself put a plan together so that I can move forward in this season to do what it is that I feel God's calling me to do next in my business and for the kingdom. All right. Have a good evening. Talk to you next time. Be blessed.